Dear aquarist, today another case of a special tropical aquarium fish, which some people like a lot. And it's coming from the wild. And of course, then we might expect also some wild diseases that we found when we do examination. So in this case, 67, we will talk about a halfbeak. Scientific name is the Dermogenys pusilla borealis, which was infected with Metacercaria. Those are worm larvae from the digenetic Trematodes. I'll show you my findings during my observation and the use of my microscope. Here we see them swimming in the water. You see them swimming very regular, upside down, dying. And with the naked eye, it's very difficult to do identification of a specific disease. You see them, that's typical, the behavior of the halfbeak hanging at the surface because they are a surface eater and eating small insects floating on the water and some leftover food. And here we have another observation of the fish in the tank. And you might spot on a few of them, I can show you that a few black specks can be noticed inside on the body of those halfbeaks. I tell you, it's very difficult just to see when they see him swimming into the water. But we notice some little black spots. Here you might see it a little bit more clearly. But still, it's very small. It's tiny. It's microscopical. That's why we take a microscope when we're taking a skin scraping. And that's what we found on the skin. You see the few scales. And in the mucus, you see here some encapsulated worm larvae. You see them here slowly moving around. And we took another part of the scraping. You see quite a few more here. Here to come out of the capsule here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were plenty of them. Many worm larvae sitting on the skin, on the scales of this halfbeak. And this worm eventually will be eaten by a bird or by another big predator fish. And then the worm eating together with the fish, they will develop into an adult worm. That's the Metacercaria, that's the larval stage. So, but what can you do here for this fish? Well, unfortunately, the badly infected halfbeaks will soon die because they cannot survive with such a load of parasites. And those, well, they will also show secondary infections and weaken quickly. Particularly bacterial infections are coming up quickly, or they're starving, they're not eating. Well, that's the problem with this kind of infections. And there is no real effective treatment available to kill those worm larvae because they're usually in a capsule. We had some suggestions and trials with some high salinity baths, salt baths of 10 grams of sea salt per liter during at least 30 minutes, a half an hour. And that can kill or at least destroy some of the worm larvae. You can try that maybe 2 times a week. It might be effective. It's worthwhile trying, better than doing nothing. So it's something worthwhile to think about. You can try anti-worm medications and do it, but it's difficult for the product to enter to the encapsulated worm larvae. So this is a specific case we deal with when we're having wild fish. That's wild fish is something that brings in specific interesting diseases. For me as a pathologist, I always love to see wild fish because they give me opportunities to see something very unusual in our fish disease things. So stay tuned. I will show you some more interesting things in the coming weeks.